Let's do it, man. So what's up, Dan? Good to see you, buddy. Welcome back to the show, man.
Dude, thanks for having me back on, man. I really do appreciate it. A lot of stuff happening in this space. I mean, we were talking before you started recording. You said, man, you're one of the hardest working guys in show business, and I think we can kind of rival each other on that. So you're everywhere. You're in my Twitter feed. You're in my YouTube. You're in my,
What's
it's crazy. Yeah, everything. Yeah.
Oh man, I can't keep up with you guys. Everybody asks me what you guys are always up to, and I'm like, dude, I'm not the guy. I mean, you need a one-man show just to follow Flux. Like in the last time in our interview, I don't even recognize Flux. Oh my gosh, your marketplace, your website, I don't know how many that Binance listing, and now you're just the gift that keeps on giving, man.
Yeah, it's been crazy, but I got even bigger news for you, and I wanted to target you actually as to kind of release this news and get it out, because I think it's super important what we're going to announce today at 5 o'clock. So this will air after 5, so the world's going to know what's happening. But we have seen today a massive downtime for AWS. We saw today that Twitch went down. We saw today lots of services have been affected by this AWS outage. And one big piece is in there as well as the two-factor authentication. Duo actually went down as well. So it tells you that these systems are kind of working with each other. So Microsoft is using AWS and vice versa. So this is a challenge. But one of the things that came out of the last outage was the fact that I think it was the Washington Post put an article out about the fact that a decentralized exchange went down. I mean, pretty much all of them went down because none of them were really truly decentralized, right?
Yeah.
But they made almost like a laugh about it that, here's these decentralized exchanges that were supposed to run, but they're down. So I'm here today to announce that Cadex and Flux are working together to launch Cadex in a fully decentralized exchange on the Flux ecosystem. Meaning, Cadex will be the very first DeFi project that will be decentralized by birth. So we are super excited to be working with the Cadex team. The guys are awesome. Our experience with the KDA team has been great. And as we continue to build out the infrastructure around what Cadex can do, we are super pumped. I mean, these guys have an ethos much like us. They align well with our project, and it fixes a glaring issue in the space, and that is, how do we truly decentralize DeFi? And we have your answer. And the first one out of the gate is going to be Cadex.
Oh boy, untouchable.
Yeah. I figured you'd like that.
Oh my gosh.
It killed me last night, Ryan, because I was on your live stream. I was actually listening to you last night as I started to doze off there. And I heard you talking about Cadex on there. I heard you talking about Flux. And I was like, man, I want to jump in here so bad. I have to bite my tongue till today. So,
oh, man. Damn,
man. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So we're going to announce this mutual partnership today. We are going to start working on the first iteration for deployment on the Flux network in Q1 of next year. So I think you're going to see it pretty quickly happen. And what does this mean? This means that for the very first time, decentralized finance, DeFi, is going to be truly decentralized. I can tell you all these outages today, you know who's up and running? Flux.
Yeah.
Because we don't depend on any of those other systems. And if we do, we'll just port it over and put it on Flux and fix the issue. So I thought, who was the next logical partner for us to work with? And as they started to grow and develop, and, we were part of their conversations around different pieces, and they actually approached us and said, you know what? This is a glaring issue in the space that we need to fix. How do we fix it? Well, guess what? We got a solution. Let's run it on Flux. Yeah, it really honestly is going to be a really cool opportunity.
Does this mean that our Cadex NFTs will be able to be stored in our Zelcore wallet?
100%.
Oh,
100%.
yes.
100%. Yeah, and we're going to continue to keep developing out and cultivating different opportunities with the Cadex folks and their team, and we're continuing to work with KDA aggressively as well.
Yeah.
Many of your listeners may not know this, but Cadena and Cadex are really two separate companies. So so they're kind of two separate entities that somewhat like what Flux is with Zelcore, right? So they're kind of two separate companies. So it's really super awesome because we have these unique synergies between all these different platforms. I think what you'll see is as Cadex really starts to roll out their decentralized exchange, there's going to be feature sets that are going to be offered that are going to be very specific to decentralized infrastructure. So I can't get deep into that, but I can say that it's going to really be an awesome thing. Yeah, I think it's gonna be a winner on all sides.
So when people stand up nodes on Flux, the infrastructure that Flux is building, like what's the difference between a node and a miner?
So miners validate the transactions on the chain. So essentially, they are the glue that holds the network together, and then that's what a lot of people refer to as layer one. So we talk about when you talk about KDA and solving the layer one scaling solution. Layer one is kind of the mining, transactional validation, things. And then you have layer two, which Flux is our node structure, is our layer two infrastructure. And basically what that does is acts as for lack of a better term, proof of useful work. We deploy infrastructure across the board, whether it's through Cadena or Firo or Presearch or many of the apps that we've launched this month in our 30 and 30. It really is truly decentralized. You can take something like Cadex and you can put it on that decentralized network running all across the globe. So you have very, very low surface area for any downtime. And I dare not say what our uptime numbers are other than us breaking stuff.
Yeah.
we tend to do that from time to time. And that's a good thing. If you're not breaking it, it's not tech, right?
You're not trying hard enough for sure.
But I would say that, with the release of Compose and UDP and the pieces on the node structure, and now we're ready for a big time player. And I think Cadex brings that use case for that layer two network.
Wow, that's crazy. I don't know why I can't wrap my head around what a node is. Like, it's just not clicking for me. Like, I don't understand, like, when people, not just from you guys, like, for some reason, I can't visualize, like, is there any way, like, in our next interview, we could dive deeper into, like, what is it, like, what am I doing? Like, if I had a business, is a node, is that storing information? Is that like you say AWS? Yeah,
you think of it as this. If I run a business and I have cloud-based infrastructure, I use AWS, right? Conventionally, with legacy technology. We go on, we stand up 5, 6, 7, 20, 30 servers, whatever I need, and I start to deploy my infrastructure, right? The internal parts, the guts of the business, right? So your data, your storage, all your different stuff goes on there. Flux and the node system is AWS, but it's decentralized. So essentially you're going to use Flux and Flux OS the exact same way that you would use AWS. The difference is we don't have 1 or 2 data centers or 3 data centers, your attack vectors or your, I don't know if attack vector is the right word, but it's basically dependent on three different ones. We spawned up a Minecraft server the other day on 10 different locations all across the globe. We did live stream through Owncast. We did a live stream all across the globe. So, this is next level stuff. And I think the easiest way to kind of wrap yourself around the nodes is this, Ryan, is you are paying AWS for a service, right? They go out and build massive infrastructure, or they partner with people to build this infrastructure, and they keep the profit. Right. With nodes, we, the people, are the infrastructure, and we all together bring that infrastructure back to center, and we keep the rewards. So it takes a third party out of it's more peer-to-peer for your direct computational needs. And that's really Web3 in a nutshell is kind of when you get down to it.
And when you say decentralized, that means that the government right now, if you're running on AWS and the government had a problem or wanted to shut you down, they could, cease and desist Amazon from storing your data and, push you right out of the network that way, where they could not do that to Flux. Like, there is no way that any government could
I I've had this question quite often, right? And a lot of people try to skate around it, and they try to give you indirect answers to a question. So the question that you're posing is very direct. It is, if I'm standing up something on Flux, can it be censored? So let's take, I think this is an important question, and one that I want to frame correctly. So the way that it works today, there's really two different ways that you can be deep or censored. Yep. It can be done at the government level, and it can be done at the corporate level. Now, we have seen at the corporate level where AWS decided they weren't going to host Parler anymore, and they just took them off their network. We've seen where content, has been developed and they didn't like it. Maybe it's Twitter, maybe it's Facebook. Mm-hmm. They just deplatform it and remove it. What I'm telling you is on Flux is we don't have the choice. Where do you send that cease and desist order? 100%. Where does it go? Right. Can you send a cease and desist order to Satoshi Nakamoto? Where the hell does that get delivered? Flux is a decentralized by birth platform. Now, I will say this. We will not tolerate nefarious content, things that are, child and things like that. We're going to abide by the rules, and we will be able to remove that content 100%. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think there's anybody in the space anywhere that would say it should be a free for all, right? Yep. There is community-based guidelines which are established by the XDAO. So I'm not even the guy that makes those guidelines. It's the community of the people that run the infrastructure. So if they say these are our rules and to play in our playground, the people that run the infrastructure, it is an autonomous network by nature. Yep. If there would be a challenging piece of content, so maybe it's not, clearly defined in our rule set, right? But it's a concern. Somebody would bring it up to an XDAO proposal, and the network themselves would validate whether or not they want to remove that content. What you see is politics and political bias, and the bullshit that comes with these deplatforming. It's raw and unfettered but with a sense of containment through the community. So that is a very direct answer to your question is, will really nasty bad stuff be tolerated? No, it will not be. And by the way, every node owner that runs on that network, we know who you are, right? Because you're essentially running your nodes, right? Yep. And we can make sure that we follow the rules that are laid down by the governance model of the XDAO. It's pretty exciting when you think about it. But yeah, governments can't come in and turn it down, because who do you go after? Do you go after Dan? Well, Dan doesn't have control of the network. It's all over the world, right? Yes. I can't stop it, right? Once it's been put in play, it's in play.
And then there's no way to stop Cadex then either. As long as they don't have any U.S. coins, any stable coins pegged to the U.S. dollar, they will be the first and only DAO that, as of now, that we know of, that is 100% decentralized. I shouldn't say that, but should be. So
it will be. Yeah, the goal is to have them 100% decentralized. And another point that I'll make too, Ryan, is as projects are developing and placing their infrastructure on Flux, that doesn't mean that if they don't do their due diligence correctly and follow the regulations on their side, that can't be an item of contention. Yep. But what I am saying is, if you go in and you start doing token sales to U.S. citizens, I can guarantee you somebody's going to be knocking on your door. So you have to be smart about this shit. And this is an iterative process. It'll develop. The XDAO is brand new. How we're doing this network is brand new. It's not a fully baked product yet. It's Web3 at its very early stage. So I hope that answers some questions.
Yeah, man, that was great. Now, like Uniswap, right? Like they're quote unquote a decentralized whatever they are, but their website is owned by Uniswap LLC or whatever. So whenever they want to delist something, quote unquote, it's still on their exchange or whatever. It's still in your wallet, but it's just nobody can list it or do anything with it. So when Uniswap's the only place that it's at, if they want to delist your token, they just change their website so you can't access it. How do things claim that they're decentralized?
That's not decentralized, then, Ryan.
I didn't think so.
That is a glorified centralized exchange, is what it is.
I thought so. That's exactly what I thought. I hope Cadex is. I don't know.
I think Cadex is focused on changing that, because essentially you'll be able to have an open marketplace for assets, is the way that I see it. You know what I mean? It comes down to regulation in the fintech space is something that needs to happen. I do believe there are some serious challenges there. But from the technical backbone, we don't give a shit about that. We care about keeping the infrastructure up and decentralized.
Yep.
Right? That's the key. And then we allow the companies that are building on top of that, they answer for their own,
they got to fight their own battles.
Sins of it. Yep. So, I would say this, where I see this being super powerful is whoever develops a social media platform on Flux will absolutely be a legend and will make lots of money to do it, because we have no intentions or we have no ability to censor the content that goes on in that. I mean, now granted, you'll have a business model that you'll have to contend with, and your terms and services are going to align with you. But if you want it unfettered and you want it decentralized, you can have it. And that's exactly what Flux was born for.
And I wonder if we're going to see somebody like YouTube replicate their own platform and bring it into it seems stupid because it's inevitable that somebody else is going to do it. So why wouldn't you do it first? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I own Facebook, I would be literally trying to make a decentralized Facebook, and then I would run all the ads on my own Facebook and drive traffic right to it and have a completely decentralized version of it.
Think of it this way, Ryan, there's really only two ways that big business moves. One is if there's profit to be made, and two, if their profit's threatened. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Everything that exists in Web 3 will have to be ported from Web 2. So Facebook has to come from Web 2 to Web 3. Right. It can be an iterative process. Maybe we run a few nodes on Flux and then we start moving our content pieces over, and then eventually we'll port to Web 3. But the major kicker here, and this is why Web 3 accelerates so fast, is because now other individuals who want to beat them to it, they can get the first mover advantage.
Yeah.
So, if I want to create a Twitter, and I've said one of the ideas that I gave was creating a Twitter on Flux in a decentralized manner, right? That you can do one tweet or one post a day, right? That's it. You only get one, and there's no content limit to it. That's the one post you get a day. And you wouldn't see as much shit that you see on Twitter, because people would be more vigilant about what they're using that model for. That's an idea. Whoever is enterprising out there and they want to do it, that would be a super awesome idea. Big companies will have to move. They'll have to understand that the change is imminent. And I think they're starting to see that now. I can tell you the communication we have had with some pretty big players in the space is they understand 1 year, 3 year, 5 year out, Web 3 is going to eat a lot of the world.
Yep, so 100%. I agree. You got a few more. We got 10 minutes on you. Do you still got 10 minutes on your clock?
Yeah, we can get 10 minutes.
Let's go with, let's talk about these 30 and 30. Start with number one and run through them. How you guys been? I haven't even been able to keep up. So,
dude, it's been fast and furious, and man, I don't even know where to start.
Just give me like 1 minute on each one.
We identified very early on that we had to kick our game up, and we wanted to showcase the pieces of the platform that kind of, made sense. So we wanted people to see that you could use these things for many different, you could use this network for many different things. We started out with our Minecraft servers, so Bedrock Minecraft servers. So it's a high-end Minecraft server where we really want to target the gaming community for deployment on Flux, because it just makes sense. These are folks that they understand crypto, they understand blockchain, they game.
Yep.
A lot of gamers mine, right, with their spare computational resources. So we really want to target them. So the next one that popped out right after that was Private Bin, which was built on ZK Snark. So that we had a privacy-based piece that we launched on there, and you can use that as basically as a paste bin. If you're working and you want to drop things in and you want to bring it over to something else, you can do it right then. And at the end of it, it burns it so that it's gone.
What?
Yeah. Right after that, we launched Owncast, which Owncast is up and functioning on Flux today. And as a matter of fact, I was watching a stream earlier. Twitch is down because it relies on AWS. Owncast is up and functioning and looking beautiful, man. So you can do your own streams right from Flux, right? So that was a big one. Another one we added was SyncTube, and that's the ability for multiple people to participate in content viewing in a decentralized manner. So say we want to have, a movie night, or say we want to have, you can basically stream. It's called SyncTube. Check it out. It's pretty awesome. You can stream the content, and then you can start to share and with other people in the group so that they can all talk about exactly what you're watching. So if you have some free to share content that you want to put out there and you want everybody to get into it and participate. Why is this big? Is as we start to target the education sector, these pieces like Owncast and SyncTube and Pastebin and other things that we've developed in the space will start to go into this like centralized educational model, right? So we really want to work on that. We added TeamSpeak. If you're an OG back in the, or you're just a hardcore gamer, TeamSpeak is huge. Military-based technology built into it, runs on Flux now. So, that's a pretty awesome. 2 games, both of them were top games on Steam, which is Valhalla and Terrera. Both have servers on Flux now, so you can run those things on Flux. And then we started getting into some more interesting stuff. So we said, let's do some stuff like Grocery, which is basically a household management application. You can make your grocery. I use it with my wife now, get coffee filters and right. It's all but there's much, much, much more to it, right? I simplify it, but it really just, you point all of the family members to one decentralized server and you can all work together to kind of run a household.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
And what's that one called?
Grocery. Grocy. You check it out. It's pretty awesome. Then we went to we wanted some Mind Test, which is a game. It's kind of like Inquisitive Games, kind of helps you build your brain power up. I haven't used it yet, so maybe I don't know what that says about me, but it's
I've heard of that one.
Yeah. And then we got into one that was a necessity. This one was not planned, but in the 11th hour, I'm sitting, on the couch watching TV, and I get a tweet that Binance lists Flux. And I immediately jump up and run down and look at, this is, 8 or 9 at night. Immediately look at, what's happening. And almost instantaneously, as people were moving their assets from primary chain over to the Binance Smart Chain through Fusion, it started to degrade service. Like we saw things start to break. And because the demand was, the influx, no pun intended, was so massive that, we needed to figure something out very quickly. And one of the things was we have a portion of our block explorers that had been running on Flux, but then we had a portion that was still legacy that we were in the process of bringing over. And, Trump comes in the 11th hour and says, I figured out how to fix this as things are starting to deteriorate very quickly, right? We spawned 40 new block explorers in the course of 15 minutes. What? And nobody went down. We never went down. We uplisted on Binance. Everyone moved from Flux to Binance Smart Chain to go through this process. And we never went down. There was mild delays as we started to go through that, but we spawned everything back up on Flux as we went. That was a huge one. So that was one I said the next day, I said, yo, the 30 on 30 for today, we're moving that. We're going to put it out. We're going to say, hey, we just launched a shit ton of Flux Explorers.
We launched 40 in one day.
Yeah. And I mean, come on, man, give us some credit there. That was pretty amazing. So that was actually a trial by fire that we did. Then right after that, we followed that up with Hodl, which is essentially Google with all of the horse shit removed. So all of the ads, the JavaScript, AMP links, IP address tracking, everything. So it's using Google without all the garbage. I highly recommend you check that out. It's hodl.app.runonflux.io.
How do you spell it?
You can use that, WHOOGLE.
Okay.
Google. And then right after that, we followed that up with a brand new blog platform. And Ryan, you might like this too, because, you're a content developer and, I hear you talking about not using Discord, not using this, but being able to do content creation is important. So we launched a completely decentralized blog setup on the platform as well. So you can go in there and create your own blog and you can blog in a decentralized environment. It's pretty awesome.
Pete, man, you guys have not stopped. Holy.
Yeah. And then the next one was diagrams.net. So this is basically an online diagram software. You use it for flowcharts, you use it for mapping, you use it for database schema. Like if you're network infrastructure, you can lay your database schema out. Like these are like super expensive things, and like the non-conventional decentralized world, and these guys brought them all together, and it's running on Flux today. So that's pretty cool. And then another game, T Worlds, which is one of the more popular games on Steam, and that brings us up to pretty much today. So this morning we launched WBO, which is basically it's in the productivity category. It's an online collaborative whiteboard. So if we're having a meeting and there's 5 of us on a call and we want to have a whiteboard, we pull it up. It's decentralized. You can keep it and it remains on the server on Flux, or you can do a burn. When you're done, you can hit burn and it burns down the whole world and it goes away. So, a little bit of something for everybody.
Oh my gosh. So how many do you got left that are still coming?
We are on day 15. So we've got
you still have 15 more coming.
More of them. Yeah.
5 more
of them. Yeah. No, 15 more. There will be a couple announcements in there that will be kind of looped into the 30 and 30. They may not be like a conventional DApp like we're doing now, but one of them is the claiming on. We announced this morning Solana you're going to be able to claim your Solana on the 26th. So Merry Christmas and ho ho ho! If you held Flux and you were in the snapshot, you're going to get your Solana on the 26th. So Tron actually went live today. So
somebody just told me yesterday, if you got 5,000 Flux and you keep it in your Zelcore wallet, you get airdrops or something. Is that accurate? Just for holding it, doing nothing?
It's part of what we call soft scaling. So we need to scale the network appropriately.
Yep.
And one of the reasons why we took the parallel asset process this way is we put Flux through the parallel assets in the hands of the folks that are going to deploy new infrastructure. So whether they're going to participate on the Solana side of the fence and maybe provide liquidity pools or staking or whatever that is, or they want to come back to the main chain and they want to stand up new nodes, new infrastructure. And it's been unbelievably successful because the majority of people who have Flux and they want to keep it and they want to claim it, they tune it up to new infrastructure. We see the nodes just continue to keep going up and ratcheting up. So it's rewarding the people that participate in the network by allowing them to scale it appropriately. So that's what we use. We call it soft scale.
Wow, man. That is freaking wild, man. That is so cool. I didn't even know. I've had 20,000 Flux this entire time just sitting there doing nothing. Yep. I had no idea.
You can when did you get it? I mean, you can probably, you'll be able to claim it if it was in, I think it would, I can't remember when the snapshot was, but if you had it in October, I believe you're qualified. I think it was 9/15 as well.
I didn't, I've had it for that long, but I had it on KuCoin because I was waiting for the upgrades and I was going to move everything over, and then the KDA got locked up and I just hadn't had time to go back over there and move it over, but it's free now. So I'm going to move that over.
The good news is hang on to your Flux and hang on to your KDA and Zelcore, and you'll be qualified for the next snapshot, which is going to be Avalanche and DOT. We're continuing to build this thing out rapidly, and we're not stopping. So pretty happy with the way things are going.
Any news on your guys' NFTs? Is that something that's coming up, or is that something later on down the pipeline?
Oh, you already know the answer to this because you saw it. I sent you a screenshot of it.
But is that public?
No, it's not public yet.
Oh, okay.
No, we have our first beta out. We will be working with Solana on that side of the fence too. We're going to start out with Solana NFTs, but really, honestly, you can cascade that out to Cadex. You can cascade that out to Ethereum, whatever. But you'll be able to hold and store and trade your NFTs directly in Zelcore. So it brings everything, nice little user interface. We're really working hard to polish the UI and UX in Zelcore, make it a lot more user friendly. Added 3 more developers that are specifically around those different areas.
Oh man.
So yeah, I think what you're going to see is this whole ecosystem where you really just don't have to go anywhere. You can sit in Zelcore, and in Zelcore you'll be able to basically participate right in that, right out of Zelcore. And if whether you want to trade on exchange or participate with NFTs, or you want to have your DeFi piece plugged right in, I mean, Zelcore is going to be that gateway for all of them.
That's so freaking awesome.
2022. If you thought we did a lot of shit in 2021, 2022 is it's gonna be amazing. I get chills when I think about it. We have built the framework where now we start cramming all of it through, and I think the growth is going to be exponential. I think you're going to see Web3 come to the forefront, and I think we're going to be a leader in Web3 for sure.
Without a doubt. I don't think there's any, like I keep saying, innovation. Whoever can adapt and innovate and scale the fastest in this industry, it changes so freaking fast, man. You can't even keep up. Like you've done in 15 days what other blockchains have failed to do in the last 2 years.
What it's showcasing is that, you know, the promises we made to deploy, they're not just empty promises. You know, we're doing 3 different things. We're doing front ends, back ends, and we're doing computational resources at some point. And by the way, the Flux marketplace will launch this month as well. Get ready, because this stuff's about to get heavy.
And you can sell anything in that marketplace, right? Is that how I'm understanding how this marketplace is going to work?
As it develops out, it'll be used for, and when you say anything, I mean anything. I'm talking about computational resources. I'm talking about NFTs. I'm talking about, you know, maybe I'm a programmer or developer that wants to launch a dApp and be paid in Flux, and I can launch it for you on the marketplace. Really, you're only limited to your own imagination with what it'll do. It gives us a central location where you bring everything back together again in Web3. So the decentralized world, it's that looking glass, so to speak, to everything that is out there to offer. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. The marketplace is really going to, I think, it sets us apart from every other platform because, I mean, you will literally be able to go in and deploy a pre-search node with one click.
So now if I'm a content creator, could I list my services as a creator on there and sell my services?
Why not? You're a product, right?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
it's gonna be a lot of fun, man. Like
that'll take
only limit.
That's gonna
Go
take
ahead.
You guys will take over Fiverr. You could be literally the Fiverr, a decentralized Fiverr.
Yeah,
Wow.
I hear that a lot. Like I hear these like, well, you could take well, you know, think of it in this way, that those individuals who have created those platforms, they have a decision to make. So if I'm sitting in front of, and as a matter of fact, yesterday I was sitting in front of somebody who was doing some due diligence around, you know, moving to Web3 and what they were going to look like. And I said, well, you have a very difficult decision that you have to make. You have to spend the time, talent, and resources to rebuild your platform to deploy it on Web3, and make sure you get good partners to help you deploy that, right? Mm-hmm. Or you're going to be bypassed by somebody else who has that ambition. And no other technology has forced the rapid iteration that Web3 will cause. Mm-hmm. We gradually worked our way into Web 1, right, which was content based, right? So that's the read. And then we worked our way from Web 1 into Web 2, which is the participatory piece, right? Mm-hmm. So content creators, blogs, MySpace, Facebook, whatever, you know, that's Web 2. The difference between that slow migration from Web 1 to Web 2 was they had the ability to transition. Mm-hmm. Web 3, the infrastructure already exists, and it is a wide open space for anyone that wants to compete in that. If you want to create a Twitter rival, get 4 buddies and start coding. You can do it in Web3. It's going to be pretty amazing to see how rapidly this happens, because people ask me, they're like, you know, how long do you think this is going to take? And I'm like, you're going to see this within a year. You're going to see there's going to be a pivot point. Something's going to happen that's going to force people to Web3. They're just not going to have a choice.
100%, man. That's wild. Now, what was that company that you said, we'll end it on this one because I know you got to get running. What was that company that you said that got shut down on Amazon, AWS?
It was Parler. AWS has done this multiple times. It wasn't just Parler. It's been other platforms as well.
So the first thing that when I heard that was, couldn't they have just deployed on Flux? And my follow-up to that is, if Parler got kicked off of AWS, so if anybody else is watching this and they're on AWS and they get booted from AWS, how long would it take you guys to spin that up on Flux?
If you can Dockerize it, less than 15 minutes.
What does Dockerize mean?
That means taking your application and putting it into a container that can then be deployed on the node. So, so the answer to that question is we actually had a situation where somebody was running a website and they ended up having issues with their provider. It was down. It was dog shit slow. It was right. And they came to us and they said, hey, you know, they popped up in the chat and they said, you know, I really been looking at Flux. Can I deploy? Yep. Here, let's go do it. Put the pull request in. 15 minutes later, he was up and spawned on, you know, 5 nodes all across the world. He couldn't have been happier, right? He's like, why isn't everyone doing this? And I'm like, because it's not, we're not ready quite yet, but we are now. So yeah, you can absolutely. So I think what Web3 does too, Ryan, and I'll just make this last point because I think this is an important point. I think Web3 we've had big tech, the Googles, the Twitters, the Facebooks of the world, being able to set their own rules and standards because there wasn't an alternative. There isn't an alternative. AWS was able to set their terms and policies and be able to arbitrarily bypass them to deplatform people, right? And because there was nothing holding them accountable. The government hasn't held them accountable. The people haven't held them accountable. Guess what's going to hold them accountable? Code. Code is law, right? And for the very first time, there is an alternative to those centralized platforms, much like Bitcoin did with the finance system, and they don't have a choice. They have to either clean up their act and make a better Web 2 based project, or they're going to lose their to Web 3, and that's what's so exciting.
That is it, man. Global adoption at its finest on crack, pretty much. You either adopt or you get left behind, period. That's why I said, like, the days of Ethereum being able to put out a blog post and talk about ETH 2.0 and then just talk but not deliver, they have 6 months to a year before they become the MySpace or Facebook of this, or MySpace or Blockster of this industry. I don't think that people are.
I think between me, you, and the fence post, I think Ethereum died a year ago.
I think so too.
Or more. I think when they failed to deliver, on many of their promises, they got stuck into a really unfortunate situation, but a situation that they kind of chose, as they were a first mover advantage. They were huge. They got big. They got VCs involved. There was, when they went through their ICO process and all this other stuff, so there's legality pieces they had to contend with. The miners still supported them through all the trials and tribulations. The miners still supported them. Guess what? Who did they turn their back on? The exact community that helped them get where they're at. And that's why ETH will die. Layer ones like, KDA and Solana and some of these other ones, they have already, even Avalanche, some of these other ones, they are already a better product.
Without a doubt. 100 times better.
Today. Yeah, so. Anyway, well, I appreciate you having me come on today, and I'll be curious to see this air. I'm hoping you air it tonight. So
I'm going to. I'm gonna go. That's why I got to go. So I got to get this. I got to get my son here in a couple hours. So I need to get chopping and get this ready to rock for 6 o'clock. Good.
Yeah, man. Hey, thank you for everybody tuning in. I appreciate it. Runonflux.io. Check us out. Ryan, you're an amazing guy. Thank you for all the attention you give to these different projects that are really changing things.
Hey, man, I give it all to you. If I could sit here all day with just you, man. So whenever you want to come back on, man, it's invitation's always open, my friend.
Thank you, my friend.
All right, take care, Dan.